guys? Welcome to the Hard Media Podcast, powered by Hard Media Group and Hard Service Solutions. Hard Media Group and Hard Service Solutions are both media companies focused on building a better business and better marketing plan for your company. Today, I have Chuck Thokey on the podcast, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Top Rep. It just closed up. A lot of awesome things happened. I've heard nothing but success stories on the internet, kind of following this thing. So, Chuck, thanks for coming on.
Man, thanks for having me, man. I'm telling you, just mentioning the fact that we just summed up Top Rep. The hair on my arms are standing up. The stories that we have coming in right now, it's almost tear worthy. These companies that are coming in right now. We've had close to 1,000 companies that have come to Top Rep over the last couple of years.
1,000.
Not quite, but it's getting up there quick. Yep. And the amount of success that is coming out of these, the success stories, the people that are talking about Top Rep, because it's so much different. But man, it's been amazing. It's been a great ride for both Jim and I. Nathan Thibodeau has been phenomenal with his hero sales culture. If you've never heard Nathan talk about his hero sales culture, that is the greatest speech in home improvement right now.
That's awesome. What are you guys seeing? I mean, you like you said, you've been doing this for a while. Mm-hmm. Things have changed, transitioned, and grown. What are the new things coming from Top Rep? The things you're seeing, what's all being presented right now that hasn't been done in the past?
One of the things that's happening right now, we gotta be very careful. But one of the things that we're doing right now is we're seeing certain trends using technology to find out what's working, what's not, what's moving forward. So we're using a lot of this right now to find out what is the next generation, because we just haven't gotten there yet. We're doing amazingly well with the clients that we currently have or the attendees that we currently have. But when we use the data, when we use the success stories, when we use the technology that's available inside of what we do right now, we're finding out what's working, what's not working inside of the home itself. Not just, hearing from our attendees, but seeing the data coming from in-house.
That's awesome. We're tiptoeing around it. Can you give us a success story that's kind of touched you recently, and then we'll just dive into that? A great success story right now. I've been working with a company out of Indiana. It's an Amish company, and they heard me speak. It was last year at the Metal Summit. And so I started working with them. It's just a couple of young men. One was 18 when I first started working with them. He's now 19. But using the training, now we actually went in-house with them, and using the training that we've been providing them, they have exponentially moved the needle for their company. And when I say this, so his name is James Fisher. 19-year-old young man and he just went into Top Rep. They were late because they had to have a driver drive them all the way to Texas. They're not allowed to fly, so they had a driver drive them 20 some hours into Texas, and they missed the first dogfight. And a dogfight is role play. So we teach, we train. And then after every phase of that training, we go into these dogfights or these role plays, and then everybody scores each other. That's where these scores come from. And so he missed the first one. He got on the second one, really getting into the groove. But then all of a sudden, all this buzz starts to happen. Like, who is this guy? Because you usually see, or typically you see a lot of the Amish, they're very submissive. They kind of sit back, usually in the back of the room somewhere, and you don't really hear much from them. And now James, as we have really worked with him over the last couple of months, he's really come out of his shell. He's a different type of salesperson, and he was able to, in front of over 200 contractors there, explain how he made a $74,000 sale. Actually, it was $63,000 that Friday. And how he went through the closing process. He was told to leave the house 3 times.
And he stayed in there and got the sale for $63,000. Then afterwards got because he had to phase it back down. They didn't want to spend the $74,000, so he phased it back down. And then they gave him a call back and said, hey, we want all the other stuff that you took out. So he was able to increase that sale, but using the information that he learned. And this isn't just basic knowledge. I mean, we really got into the mindset. We got into personality. And so he was able to secure that deal. He went into Top Rep, did an amazing job there, and came back on a high, was loving life, and closed everything he touched in just a few short days, closed over $160,000 worth of business. Then got a call back from another client that he's been working with, and the client told him, says, hey, we have another company that's willing to do the project for half as much. So that's $20,000 less than what he had quoted. So he went through all the different stalls and excuses and started to get some ground with this guy, then found out that the main reason why he couldn't go with Stormy Ridge was because he wasn't approved for enough through his financing. And so what he did was he used the training, started to use what we call my biggest fear. My biggest fear is, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, my biggest fear is that you're going to end up going with this other company just because that is who you had gotten approved for, the amount you got approved for, and you're going to find out you spent that amount of money, it's leaking, it's not doing what you wanted to do, and you used that only because that's all that you could afford. Now, if you went ahead and found a way, if I could help you find a way that you could invest in our services, if there was a way that I could do that, would that be something you'd be interested in? So instead of going at them and making them mad, he used what we call my biggest fear. And he used that twice, and now he's going back to see if he can't figure out how to get them the extra money. That's $20,000. There are sales reps all over the United States that $10,000, even $5,000 would just throw them right into the dirt, not know what to do, and say, well, you know what, use whoever that is, and if you ever need anything, give me a call. Our clients are realizing that their close rates are going up, their profits going up, mainly because of the strategies, the techniques, and the systems that we give them. And when people say, I can't do that, I said, this is an Amish company that can't use technology. They can't use half the stuff. And I'm being very generous when I say half, because when I go out and ride with him, I had to take him there. And he couldn't use any type of technology. He's pulling out his tape measure to measure everything. He can't use Eagle View. He can't use Hover. He's doing everything on his own and closing these jobs. And we have other sales reps that have all this technology, and they can't even close half of what he closes. And so the reason why is because of the systems, the training, and the advanced training that we're able to give while we're there. But I know that's a long story, but that is one of my favorite success stories that have come out of Top Rep, at least recently. I mean, we have tons and tons. We get 2 to 3 a week that we get when people say, hey, we had another company that just called us yesterday and said, hey, my people are on fire. They are absolutely on fire. After Top Rep, that's all they have talked about since they've left. They went into a home show and absolutely killed the home show. They came back out of the home show with over 500 leads. They're flooded with leads, don't know what to do, and we're explaining to them how to handle those leads, how to distribute those leads to maximize that. But again, the stories just keep coming.
When you have a guy like James, that is on fire, what does that mean? Not for your growth as a company, but your company culture. When you have a guy who's scorching like that,
and you have to be careful of this. We have seen many of these sales reps that come back and they do extremely well, and they do what we call getting onto the pedestal, which is the worst thing any sales rep could ever do. I don't care if you're new, old, whatever. You have to stay off the pedestal. That pedestal is that time when you're saying, man, I am crushing it. Nobody's as good as I am. This company would be lucky to have me. And you've just taken a step onto that pedestal and you have killed your growth. You've killed your sales. You will never be any better than you are right then and there. And most likely you're going to be on your trend down. And we've seen a lot of these sales reps, both men and women, that they have left the industry because of that. So we have to, when we go through Top Rep, because we have seen insane growth in these people. I mean, I'm talking 60, 70, 75% close rates. And then they come sliding back down because they took their step onto that pedestal. Now, when you come to Top Rep, we're going to explain to you what that pedestal is. You have to stay off that pedestal. That's one of the main reasons why we have Nathan Thibodeau talking about the sales culture, because you have your what we call the prima donnas and the monkey culture, and where can we go from there? Well, it's the hero sales culture, and that hero sales culture is very intentional. It's what he calls standing in the gap. I don't want to get too far into it because it's his talk, but you really have to stand in the gap. You have to stand in the gap between the company and the customer, between the production and the sales department, from the marketing to the sales department, from the phone room you have to stand in the gap, to make sure that everybody stays on that even keel, if you will, humble before hype. You have to stay humble.
Yeah, I envision this fire. If you start a fire correctly and slowly, it'll stay burning forever. And you can, and then if you take gasoline and you pour it onto a small flame, you get this huge, and then it's gone.
Right.
And that's what I envision with the way you guys you're building up these sales reps is they stay on fire for the long term so that that can drive growth in the company and within themselves.
Right. And we have had over the last couple of years that Jim and I have had these top reps, we get better every single time. And this last event is by far our best. Just like anybody, our next event's our best event. But this one was our best event mainly because many of the people there were either black shirts. Now, black shirts, what these people are, every event we have our top 10%. And so, or our top 10 people. And so they get to come back for free. If you think of Top Gun, you get to come back to Top Gun at any time to be an instructor or whatever you want to do. But, we want them to come back at no cost, and they can either compete or they can help. And we had a little bit of both. We had some some black shirts that wanted to compete. One of them actually got the belt this time, which was a really great story. But and then some of them decided they wanted to help, and that was amazing. But we had a lot of black shirts come back, but we had a lot of companies come back, and we have some companies that will come back every single event because they see a growth out of every single event. It's like when you watch a movie, and every time you watch a movie, you notice something different about the movie. It's no different. Every time they come back, they notice something different about the event. Not only do they notice something but we also, notice something different, but we also add different things to the event. We sit down after the event and say, what was good? What could have been better? And so we're always trying to bring that next level content, which is why most of the industry magazines are pushing us as the top platform for sales and leadership training.
That's awesome. As a marketing podcast, as a marketing agency, we're tacticians, we're executioners. We rely, you're one of the people we rely on. What's going on in the market? What are you seeing in marketing? What are you seeing these guys look for, strive for right now that can come into their business on the marketing side to make an impact?
On the marketing side, what I see when I go in is just not enough marketing. They want to hide underneath the rock, and they think that, hey, I'm going to put my fishing line out with some digital marketing. And many times these companies are trying to bring their marketing in-house. And here's my problem with bringing marketing in-house. You probably know better than I do, but my take and what I see when people bring their marketing in-house is that they hire these people and you can't get rid of them. If I'm going to bring on a boutique or if I'm going to bring on a marketing company to do the marketing, if they don't work out, I'm moving on, right? If I bring it in-house, am I just having to keep firing these people until I find somebody? It's not like a sales rep. And so, I want someone that is very versed in it. I don't want to bring in, and a lot of times what I see is it's a friend of a friend, or if it's somebody's son, and they say, hey, we're going to bring it in-house. That's a horrible idea, just so you know. And I'm gonna just point it out to you. That's a absolutely horrible idea. When you look at, hey, what's the worst thing that could ever happen to my company? I'm going to bring in family. That's the worst thing that can happen to your company.
We talk about that quite a bit, and the big thing that we talk about is that, for better or for worse, I know this makes a lot of people upset. The best marketers work for agencies, and the ones who can't work for agencies typically go out and push themselves into open companies. So when you're dealing with that, not only when you're working with an agency, you're getting access to a videographer, an ads guy, and organic. You're getting all that in one package, which I've never met someone that's good at all of it. I've met people that are pretty fantastic in this world, some that are much better than myself that still can't handle all those facets. I'm like, if they were that good, they would be working for an agency like mine, or like, we have plenty of friends in the industry that are great. They would be working for one of those companies that would have gobbled them up. So we run into that as well. The big thing we're seeing, and I wanted to see, are you seeing the same thing, is brand. Mm-hmm. For the longest time, brand was very important in the service industry, roofing, windows, doors, whatever. Then we drifted into this element of all marketing needs to be is to chase leads, because if I'm not chasing enough leads fast enough, I'm getting behind. And leads should be part of your marketing plan, but also part of your sales plan. But now we're seeing this drift back into, similar to your sales rep situation, mm-hmm. You poured gas on a fire, now the fire's out, and now you have nothing left. And the companies that built brand built this long-sustaining ember. Are you seeing that same trend like we are?
We are, and it's hard to, because when I look at a newer company or a smaller company, we have to push lead flow, because branding would put us out of business. And here's before people start to get upset with that, you only have so much money, and you have to have a return on that investment. And as a smaller company, that return has to come quick, because usually you're on borrowed money. It's not even your money, maybe it's financed money, whatever, and you're going to put it into marketing. That has to come back to you. But here's where people start to go wrong, is they start to see this ramp up and they don't put any branding in. They see it like, hey, I'm going to ride this wave and I'm going to get more leads and more leads. And they totally misunderstand the whole principle behind marketing, which is at some point you have to have shelf life. And if all you have, because it's quick in, quick out, right? So if I have a quick in and I have a lot of leads, it could be a quick out with no leads or very small leads. Whereas if you had some branding, these sales reps and these sales organizations that understand branding, they have a constant lead flow. And it's just like a sales rep. I love a good top rep. And when I mean by top rep is somebody that is, he's off the charts. But what I like more is a consistent rep. Consistent reps make us money. These roller coaster reps where they go up and they sell $1 million in every couple months. They're great, but then they're coming crashing back down because they don't need the money anymore. And so these roller coaster reps, they're okay, but it's the consistent reps that really bring us money. And when we look at branding and we look at marketing, it's the consistency that will take a company and make them strong. We want strong companies, not these fly-by-nights. We see companies all the time where they're $10 million their first year, and they go up to $20 million the second year, and then you don't see them the third year.
Yep, that overhead increases. Yeah, and that's, it's for us, leads are always the most important thing. We get the leads started, and we start to build the brand underneath of it. And that's the companies we've seen longevity with, the companies that have grown exponentially, but consistently, 12 million, 14 million, 18 million, 20 million, 22 million. Those companies that we've worked with that have done this have done it through that, when we're young, get all the leads we can, but have this focus and realize that inevitably one day someone's going to like you, and they're not going to know why they like you. Oh, I've seen them everywhere. I remember, and they all of a sudden have this positive idea of your business, and it's just come from this organic push that's happened.
The other thing that you have to look at when you look at marketing is your marketing percentage. Marketing percentage. So a company that I came out of about 8-9 years ago, people say, well, how can they do as much marketing as they do, and their marketing percentage is at 4%? I mean, when we walk into gas station, they would sing us our jingle. And so our marketing person, who was a genius, he was in-house. Now, when I say in-house, he was the marketing director. He didn't do any of the marketing. He was the brains behind everything, and then he would make sure that everything he outsourced was done correctly.
Yeah, that's a dream for us.
Yeah.
You know, we're, as an agency, having one person that is the commander.
Right. And as a marketing person, you probably enjoy working with that person more so even than the owner sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the owners are always scared, no matter what it is, whether they're doing really well or very poor, they're always scared of what's coming tomorrow. But when we look at that percentage, that marketing percentage, when you're new or when you are small, that marketing percentage may be 10 to 18%. But at some point, you want that has to be that trade-off. So your branding at some point will surpass your lead gen. But if you look at some of these companies, they never let off the gas on that lead gen, which is not bad, but they don't look at their branding. It's always, how many more lead sources can I get? And before you know it, they have 10 different lead aggregators, and their SEO sucks because they didn't focus any of the SEO. They didn't focus on the local. So I've heard some people talk about this 5-year, or not 5-year, the 5 Mile Famous. They're not focusing on the branding of the company, so that when people actually think they need a new roof and they think they need plumbing, electric, or anything, that they are not thinking of you, because all you're focused on is lead gen. You're always fighting. And when you're always fighting for the business, then you're always going to take a lesser gross or net profit.
Yep. And I think the other thing is people have to understand is that when you're just aggregating leads, no matter what they're coming from, and you only do that, inevitably, slowly over time, that cost per lead is going to increase no matter what you do, because you're going to need more and more and more. So you're going to be willing to pay more and more and more for those leads because you need more to fill your machine.
Right.
And so what happens if you haven't built that organic, you haven't built the counterbalance. All those organic leads that came in for free that you put no marketing budget on, those start to counterbalance your overall CPL in your company, lowering your cost per lead. Well, if you've never put this into place, all of a sudden you're running into these crazy, CPLs, because you're aggregating every single lead you have, and you have no organic sources coming to lower that down.
And I'm glad you're talking about the CPLI, because there are some companies out there that even know what that is, your cost per lead issued. And so when we look at, and for us, that cost per lead issued is for an appointment. People look at that cost per raw lead. For us, we want to look at cost per appointment, which is cost per lead issued. I'm actually issuing that lead. And so when we look at that, we ask a company, hey, what is your CPLI? What is your cost per lead issued? They have no idea what it is. More so is, I want to know, what is my CPLI per lead source? So my television is going to be a little bit higher, but I also know I'm probably going to be spending anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 a month on it. If I'm going to look at my home advisor, it's going to be a lot lower, my cost per lead issued, if we're working it correctly. But when we look at our branding is way down. Why? Because we're spending money on it, but we're not spending as much as we're spending in these lead aggregators. And many of our clients, the lead aggregators, can be up around $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month just spent on lead aggregation. But yet they spend very little on branding. And we just keep talking to them, say, hey, let's bump that branding up a little bit. But how would we, and I guess I got a question for you, is when we look at branding, what are different ways to brand?
Yeah. The biggest one now is to be everywhere all the time, which I know sounds crazy. And for years, there needed to be a balance. I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to have too many posts. There's no such thing anymore. It's so noisy that you need to have a set stream of content on every platform you can. And if you can add TV into that, unbelievable. Because at the end of the day, we want to build brand equity. And if we can keep building this brand equity, and over time allow that to increase on every platform, all of a sudden that's when you start seeing all the organic leads come in. Mm-hmm. That's when you start seeing you maybe ownership or someone who's been out making this content, they're being asked to be on a podcast or on a local news station. All these things start to go together. Maybe they ask you to write a segment about leaky roofs in your local publication, and it's all free, right? These are things that happen as you continue to grow that brand, and you become almost a figurehead in your community to an extent, because you've been the guy who fixed the leaky roof. You got the family back in their home. You fixed the plumbing leak that flooded a basement. And while you're building this brand equity, and you're doing it on social, you're doing it on TikTok, you're doing it on, you're doing it on your website, you're doing the SEO stuff, you're doing everything you possibly can. And you're doing it to a point of annoyance for yourself and for your customers, because remember, they're not seeing everything you're doing, no matter what you think. That's when you start to really see the brand getting built. It needs to be in your face at all times. And I keep telling people more than ever, stay so loyal to your brand guidelines. Just because there's a funny meme, if it's not your company, don't trend chase. It's dangerous. Trend chasing for the sake of trend chasing will destroy your brand. And now if there's a trend that's like, oh, that's right on brand, that's hilarious, it works perfectly, go for it. But make sure your brand equity stays in place. Make sure you're not breaking your brand guidelines to chase leads or to chase a trend, and just stay focused on what your goal is and be who you're supposed to be in that instance. Because at the end of the day, typically, your brand is just a reflection of the business and the integrity of who you are as a person and who your company is.
Very nice. I like that. So I want to get back to talk a little bit about Top Rep. Is that we have right now, we are not doing as many events this year as we have the last 2 years. We've always set out to do 2 events a year. We always get talked into doing 4 and 5 events. But this year we are really focused on these 2 events, and we're really making sure that these 2 events bring exactly what people are expecting. Now, this next event is Top Rep Rush, and it's going to have a lot of the same content, but we're really focusing on closing the year strong. So you're going to get all the steps of the sale. You're still going to get everything that we would have in Top Rep, but with Top Rep Rushes, we're really focused on, hey, now that you're taught all this information, now you need to be focused on the number. Whether you're going to run up the score, maybe you've hit your goal and it's time to run up the score, or maybe you're behind on your goal. You might be, several $100,000 behind your goal. And how can we get you caught up? And that's one of the things that we're going to be focused on. But the difference here for this year, for this next event, is we're actually running an early bird, because we always get people that want to sign up early, and we don't usually open it up until a couple of weeks out from the event. But now we're actually going to open it up and have an early bird. And here's what is so cool about the early bird is that you can get it a lot cheaper. You're going to get it $300 off, but also we're actually going to be sending out sales tips every week up to the event. So the earlier that you sign up, the better the more sales tips that you can get. So if you go ahead and you sign up, very quickly, this should be opened up within the next week. And so you'll get those emailed out to you week after week after week. And I wanted to make sure that this is something that you can take to your sales reps during a sales meeting. I want to make sure this is something that you can implement, not just really cool information that you can't do anything with. I want to make sure that is even stuff that I want from my own sales team, that I would bring to my own sales team, I'm going to send to you for signing up early.
That's awesome. Can you plug Top Rep for us? Give them information, how to reach out to you guys, how to find out more information.
The easiest way to get in touch with us is through our website, which is www.topreptraining.com. Once you get on there, you'll get a lot of different information, and you'll have the opportunity to go ahead and sign up. And we are going to go back. I know we were talking about some of the other locations, but we're actually going to go back to New Braunfels. And not only are we going to go back to New Braunfels, but there's some other activities that we're looking at right now that we're going to add to it. Just some fun stuff that you can come and do right there in New Braunfels or right around New Braunfels before the event.
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming on today. This was great. And everyone should definitely go to Top Rep. I've been there. I loved it. It's a whole different thing than anything you can imagine. Once you're there, you just get immersed. So appreciate it.
I got to do this. That's how you become a Top Rep.
Do what you want.